Welcome to Juggling Interviews. This episode is brought to you by XavJuggles, the IJ's official online publication, where you can find the latest juggling news, articles, videos, and podcasts, just like this one. If you want to check that out, you can head over to their website at juggle.org/xjuggle, or with the link in the description. This episode is also sponsored by Play Juggling. On their website, you can find high-quality props like balls, clubs, rings, diablos, poise, fire equipments, flower sticks, glow props, and tons more. Head over to playjuggling.com and use my code XavJuggles, XavJuggles10, to get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support me, so thank you a lot, Play Juggling. Now let's get to the episode. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Juggling Interviews. Today, I have my friend Jean-Baptiste Diot, a French friend of mine. So happy to see you here. For the French people, we just did an episode that can be added to this one. If you speak French or happen to understand the language, we have a great hour of content we just did right before, speaking about mostly inspirations and what juggling does to your brain. Today, I think Jean-Baptiste and I are going to talk about more physical aspect of juggling, and perhaps, and we'll see where it goes from there. So, how are you doing, Jean-Baptiste?
I'm good. I'm currently working to be able to compete at the next EGC, because as you can see, sport juggling is kind of my stuff also. But yeah, I'm feeling good. A bit cold here, but everything went great.
Yeah. Oof, starting to have some very low temperature with the
Yeah.
winter, especially here in Canada. So, I'm excited to go to next EJC. I'm very excited. I want to
Me
go
too.
in Netherlands.
It's a bit a long time since I've been in the EGC. I know I'm gonna compete at WGF, so I'll be there for sure. But yeah, there is a lot of things that I'm hearing are going to happen. A lot of people that I want to meet. So yeah, looking forward for this for sure.
So the big question, how did you start juggling? How did you get introduced to juggling at first?
Because I was bored. No, for real. Like any children, I think I was looking for an activity somehow. So I tested a lot of sports. And then one day, with a book, I just learned to juggle 3 ball. I showed that to my mother, and she went like, "Okay, let's go for this." So I just joined the circus school, and then it started there. Um, and the first was, yeah, learning 3 ball cascade, and after discovered the rings, the clubs, even the diabolo a little bit for a while. And it was most after a year, it was most the bouncing balls, my props. So I started to do a lot of more like, yeah, just bouncing ball for most. Um, and then when I was 12, I think it went more general, like clubs, bouncing balls, and balls, and started to create my first acts. And that's it for the beginning.
Yeah. So you learn like the basics and then you directly jump into circus school?
Yeah, kind of. Just learned that in my bedroom, the triple cascade, and then I just joined the circus school because kind of when you are a juggler in France and you want to keep practicing, that's the place you're going to be to improve.
Yeah,
There are
okay.
not so much juggling clubs, when
Okay.
you just join a bunch of people to juggle. It's not really, there is, but not that much.
What did you learn at circus school? What were the first things you got introduced to?
Um, I think acrobatics somehow because juggling is kind of specific, but for circus, it's all about acrobatics. Everything come from there. So it was hard for me because you don't see me because I'm sitting, but I'm pretty tall. In French, you say I'm 1 meter 95. So it's quite high. and I was tall very soon. So it means that in terms of knowing how my body can move, took me a while. Took
Okay.
me a while, and I got some pics where I grew up fast, and all my joints were hurting. So acrobatics
Oh.
wasn't funny for me.
Oh.
I know that was part of the process, but like any juggler in the circus school, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, but then I'm gonna go straight for juggling.
Yeah.
And it
Oh
was
yeah.
all it has been kind of always like this
Yeah.
in a way.
You
Yeah.
know that could be a smooth transition to how do you prevent injuries? Like what do you do when you see these first signs of maybe joint pain or shoulder pain, muscle strains? What kind of rehab or what kind of preventing do you do when you see this kinds of hints coming?
The first thing I'm gonna say is like, don't stop juggling. You're gonna get hurt if you are practicing a lot, because repeating a movement will generate uh, most of the time a little bit of injury, a little bit of inflammation. That's part of the process. So if you cannot move your arm and you cannot reach a glass, then yeah, you're going to stop for a week or two. But if you just start feeling something that look like you're going to be injured, or you cannot squeeze enough your four clubs in your hands, that hurts, okay, don't stop juggling first. Then try to find out if what kind of movement does provoke you that kind of hurts, where the pain is coming, when, and then when you identify this, um, I think massage is something that you can use all the time, but not too much. Um, and you say, like, how do you avoid?
Mm-hmm.
Um, think of your training before you go to the gym. That's kind of the point I'm developing now. It's like, generally when you're a juggler, you just, because the risk for your body compared to the other circus discipline is less. You can juggle 8 hours a day without getting injured, but you cannot do acrobatics for 8 hours a day. See, that's silly. So somehow, just think about which structure you're gonna adopt for your trading to be effective and to avoid injuries. Because if I'm going, even if clubs are not the heaviest props you can juggle, juggling training your seven club for 3 hours, it's silly. At a certain points, it's not very effective. You're gonna lose time. There is multiple ways to improve your seven clubs without doing the seven clubs to avoid these injuries. And there is plenty of exercise you need to do if you want to perform. I mean that in for that direction to perform. You can do a bunch of exercise outside of your juggling for your body to be able to juggle more, be efficient for a long time.
What kind of exercise do you do?
Generally, um, core exercise foremost, because your body needs to be stable. If you can protect your lower back for the most of the time, it's going to be a good point for you. Um, you need to be able to see that when you move your arm to do a hard trick, it doesn't significantly uh, it's not different from when you are doing with less balls. If you are training for your 7 balls and your arms move really too much differently from your 5 balls, then you're going wrong. You need to focus on what your body needs to do for the props to move the way you want, and not looking at the props. Actually, Yuri Pozniakov, the coach from Kiev, told me this. It's like he's looking up to see what the balls are doing, and he know exactly what your body needs to do to change the pattern to be more effective. It's all about what your body needs to do to throw the props.
So having
not
the
the opposite.
so having the mind body connection, knowing that if this is that high and you want to do like a pirouette or a back cross is next, you know how to set up
Yeah.
your shoulders and everything to be smoothly going around the tricks. So if someone do
Hmm.
like a reaction, like if they improvise a back cross or something, they may like do the movement wrong or too quickly and maybe like hit something wrong and that could prevent injuries. Maybe knowing what kind of achievement you want to have in your tricks or in your sequence or in your practice session overall.
Definitely, you need because we are going to talk, I think, about learning a trick that's specific to our discipline. Um, your body needs to be a little bit stronger. There is plenty of way, and I'm not a coach, but if your body is stronger, you can add stress while juggling. If you're doing a 966, for example, and you've never done a side swap with a 9 inside, then your body needs to be aware that you're gonna generate more power to throw your 9 somehow. So it doesn't have to be an issue during your jogging session. So your body needs to be a bit stronger, just enough to be able to know that the 9 is not a problem.
Hmm.
The skill, the swap is a problem that you're going to solve during your session, but the power to do it is not a problem. So your body needs to be stronger. When you say about the back cross is a good example because uh, it's really specific. It's like moving around your body and having the perception of a certain part of your body where your hand needs to be. Trust the process. I think that will be the smartest thing I'm gonna say. It's like trust the process. There is plenty of video ways to do it, to see how back cross, for example, is made. Trust the process. Start slow. Start with small implement because you're gonna use your body a different way. You cannot spend the first day you're gonna do back cross. Don't do 1 hour. Do 5 minutes. You can repeat it a couple of times, but 5 minutes. Your body, your brain need to understand where to put your hand, what your shoulders are doing, how I'm gonna use my back, where my head is, how my hips are going. For that video is perfect, but small implements, 5 minutes, and after you're gonna see some improvement, then you can talk about how I'm gonna put that to the next level.
It's been for a month or two that I remember trying 5 ball back crosses since it's one of my bad tricks. Like it's the kind of tricks I am working on for months and months. But I was so tired. I wanted to qualify it because I think my record is like 8 or 9. So I was like this close to qualifying it. So I took like 20 minutes and only did 5 ball back crosses. And guess what? I have shoulder pain, which is very annoying. And I know it's because of back crosses because it only hurts when my arm is put down, like the front of my deltoid is hurting because I know that putting my arm super backwards is stretching something I strained, and it's been like a month or two. So I wish I would have went it more slow mo. I thought doing 20 minutes would like solve back crosses, and then I would be okay to always do it again. Maybe not. Maybe trust the process, like you say.
Um, if you're feeling pain locally, generally it's the shoulder or the elbow. Um, there is something going wrong in the positioning. So somehow you need to know that for if it's juggling or anything in your life, if you're feeling pain, for example, in the front of your shoulder, squeeze your shoulder blades together.
Okay.
You need to know that there is I'm trying to say that pretty clear. There is mechanism in your body that you can do or learn to avoid pain, even if you are doing the movement that causes you pain. Like everything that you're gonna push forward for you in front of you, Sometimes you're gonna have a little trouble with inflammation at the front of your shoulder. If you squeeze your shoulder blades together, everything's gonna be a little bit behind. If you have pain reaching a glass on the top in your kitchen, then squeeze your shoulder blade, and you're gonna feel really. It's gonna feel a little bit tense in your back. That's the point, but you won't feel pain anymore. For the back crosses, it's a little bit the same. You need to think about what I can what can I put in my training that will correct my position and make my body understand that with this position I'm effective on the trick, but it causes me pain. With this position, it's a little bit tricky for me to understand what's happening during the trick, but I can train for hours.
Okay, yeah.
And just judge where I'm gonna put my time for. Is it a marathon, or you just want to put a video of you qualifying back crosses right now? It's two different goals. But yeah, for sure, there is a lot of work with positioning, where my shoulder are, what my elbow is doing, and after that, when you see the video, thinking of less is more, meaning that the less movement you're going to do, the less energy you're going to put in the movement, and the more effective it's going to be, the best it is.
And you can be more
If
endurance.
for back crosses you're going to move like this and doing full big arm movements, you're going to qualify it and then you're going to fall down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as you're rolling out your 5 bar back crosses, it needs to be more comfortable in the way that you can do more, but you stop because you're doing the work, specific work to improve, and then you stop and you let your body understand what you just have done.
Yeah, and right now I'm trying to go back to the basics to not push it too much. Now I'm trying to do endurance with three balls and like maybe correct my techniques, correct my throws. Maybe I do too ample. My movement maybe are too ample. Maybe I need to like put my shoulders down so then the shoulder doesn't have to do like a whole whole lot of this movement. So yeah, yeah, that's some
Spend
hard
time
work.
on the basics, for sure,
That's some hard
for
work.
sure.
It's
Because
hard. It's
if
humbling
you're,
too.
yeah, sure, but you're here, you go to training, so you're here to train.
Yeah.
If you have, I don't know, it's like sports science go for this, but when you train for a certain sport, you train for a competition day. So your goal is in 6 months, I have to run that spot in that time. I have to break with that time. Okay, so I'm gonna put everything I can in my training to be able that day to run that fast. That's my goal. In juggling, even if it could be a new act and you have a premiere on that day, can be the goal. Or I want to be able to do 50 catches of back crosses in 2 years. So what can I implement in my training to be able to do that? And if your goal is clear, the goal is not to publish 25 or 30 catches of back crosses before that. The goal is clear, it's 50 in 2 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I need to do just one arm back crosses for 1 year, then you're gonna do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just be clear with your goals, set it, and if you're thinking your training before you go to the gym, there is no way it's gonna reach out differently.
Yeah. Also,
In my thoughts.
the mind is powerful. Like you can foreshadow what's gonna happen. Um, when you think about it, even in life in general, when you think of what your future self or what some others have done that could align with your goals, let's say I want to become the best juggler in the world. Think about what the best juggler in the world did at your age, or even if you're older than them. Who cares? What would the best juggler in the world do at your position? What could you do right now to be that to meet that goal in that amount of time? Like if I want to be the best juggler ever in the next 2 years, what would the best juggler ever do think about what your training session is gonna look like. Think about the sacrifice. Think about the time you have to sacrifice and go train. And you're not gonna go out every night. You're gonna stay in the gym and you're gonna focus on your techniques and stuff. So it's interesting to align the mind with your goal. If your brain is wired to reach that goal, and you don't have any excuses in between, you know that if you're consistent, your mind knows where to go. You know what kind of successful person you wanna be like. You know what kind of goal they did that you could do, but you have this distance to reach, and you know exactly what to do every day. Or you have a somewhat of an idea. Maybe you don't practice exactly like them, but you know that if you want to run a marathon in 1 year, you know that you have to start today to learn how to run and build your
Of
endurance.
course. And the fact that you mentioned being the best juggler in the world. What makes you think is the best juggler for you? Because if you think he is the best juggler in the world, that you're right. That's your point, and you are right to think that. So, what trick have you seen? What way of juggling? What is the list of tricks that he made that make you think he is the best juggler? And then you
Yeah, the
start
goal
to
is different.
plan. Yeah. Like if we recently I've seen 13 Rings by Dani Lysenko. If someone said that that's the best juggler I've seen, he's done 13 rings. So yeah, you can somehow get close to that for sure. So if for you number juggling with rings means the best, then do number juggling. But there is a list of things that you can apply to ring number that's are not really a good transfer to ball number juggling, for example.
Yeah.
You know, it's not exactly the same way to put your hand, not exactly the same way to be effective. I think Evin Draksha can make a lot of can talk a lot about that because he's really into that too. Uh, but yeah, you need to think about what you want to accomplish close to the goal you have fixed for yourself. And for me, because you mentioned that, um, the more people, um, the more there is people who juggle, the happier am I. Because in a way, if people could people need to see improvement. People need to say that in the last 2 months I wasn't able to juggle. Now I can do a 5-3-1. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I know that because I set goals for myself and I respect the process, the programmation or whatever you have fixed, and it worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In every sport, in every practice, there is a coach who think that for you that you want to do a 5-up 360 in a year. So here's what you're gonna do,
Yeah.
and you get the list and you do it. And the year after that, you can do a 5-up 360.
It's
You
so
know,
abstract, but it's so concrete.
A plus B equals C. In most of the case, when it's pretty pragmatic, we're not talking about creation and subjectivity. We're talking about doing a trick. Make your body learn to do something specific with a certain vocabulary and a practice, which is juggling. You can be that pragmatic and see that in every practice with your body, there is a specialist coach that tells you what to do to be able to set you to be able to accomplish your goals. So there is no reason it's not going to work for juggling.
Yeah, absolutely. We see a lot of your content being around weightlifting and kettlebell. What kind of science did you find around kettlebell that keeps your brain working differently than in juggling? Because you do something similar as juggling. You literally juggle the kettlebell with very different movement and very different muscle engagement. Let's say you do a front flip with the
Yeah,
kettlebell, your forearm is gonna work way more than if you threw a ball like this. So how do
yeah.
you work your weight training with the kettlebell? And talk to me about this new kind of prop that also trains in with your body.
Mm. Um. So first, well, I'm a juggler, but the main role in my life is that I'm a dad. So it takes me a lot of time. And besides juggling, I was doing a lot of powerlifting as a hobby. But it's also a sport that took you a lot of time in your day. Juggling take me basically between 3 and 4 hours a day when I train. So adding an extra 2.5 hours to lift weight was too much.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to train to just work because I got my own circus company in France, so I need to make it work. Like creating shows, so I got to work on it. So I had to think, I need to keep juggling because that's my stuff, but I need to leave powerlifting and change a little bit what my weight training was. And I discovered kettlebell sport, which was kind of the same as weightlifting, but in a shorter way of training because in 30 minutes you're done with kettlebell sport. You just, it's a discipline where you got movements, and in weightlifting you have a barbell which is charged with a certain weight, and you have 1 minute to lift it one time. In kettlebell sport, you have a weight that is imposed in some movement, for example, clean and jerk and snatch. You have your weight in your arm for 10 minutes. You cannot put them down, and you just count the repetition of the movement you're doing. And then at the end of the 10 minutes, you have your result.
Oh.
And somehow, I'm not saying that I like that most than just lifting weight. It's just more effective in the time that I give myself to weight training. And I discovered kettlebell juggling because kettlebell used to be it's a Russian prop called a girvoy originally, and there are always been um, jugglers with kettlebell, mostly in the 60s and 70s, and that was a way where in circus at the time, jugglers were there to show how great they are,
Yeah.
how how many objects a man can juggle, how strong he is. So in that area, juggling a 70-kilo kettlebell was one big thing.
Yeah.
The same as juggling 11 rings, you know what I mean? And I discovered a little niche of people like me, between 35 and 40, who were just former boxers or powerlifters who were doing that to just continue the training with their body with a more effective way of doing it. So just learn the basic flips. And at that time, I was building my first solo juggling show where where I mentioned all the links between sport and juggling. And I have two props that I wanted to develop, which was who were kettlebells, because I know there is kettlebell juggling for a long time, and the mace bell, which is somehow the same the same way. It's used the same way as the Indian clubs, who are the ancestor of our current clubs. So it worked on the power of rotation of the shoulder around your body.
Okay.
And I know that was like because it's like the modern version of an ancestor of the clubs. Then I will build up link pretty easily with that prop. I was like on that two ways, and after that there is like a study about what links juggling to sports that was in the show. But for the research of the prop, that was the two strange juggling props that I was looking forward to experiment.
And but did you notice a correlation between the muscle training and your juggling afterwards? Do you think it transferred to some kind of tricks or patterns that you had with juggling, and you suddenly had easier time doing it because you had the muscle power for it, or maybe more explosiveness?
Yes, but that was something I discovered when I was younger. Um, I get injured during a season in a circus, and my doctor told me that I need to be to get a little bit of more to reinforce myself, to do a little bit of weight training. And at that time, with the first week of lift that I did, my juggling was better.
Uh,
I didn't understand why at the time because I was just juggling and not questioning myself about it. But I was lifting weights, my juggling gets better. So it took me years for to understand how weight training was affecting my juggling. The first was like the stronger my body gets, the more juggling I can impose to my body.
Yeah.
The stronger am I, the more endurant I am, the longer I can train, and the best is my juggling. And after that, there is a small part when you need to understand what your body is doing during your juggling to identify which way I can reinforce it specifically to make my juggling better. For sure, you're gonna need a strong back, for example, because it's the base of your chain. You're not gonna benefit too much of doing curls for hours
Yeah.
because you know that the closer you're in a traditional way of juggling, like just throwing props, the most props in the air possible and catching them. Um, the closer your elbow is to your body, the best is your juggling, your 5 ball cascade, your 7 ball cascade. If your elbows are too forward, too much forwards, then you're gonna have some three-dimensional issues with your juggling. So there is a way to identify which muscle is working, how to improve it, what to change in your technique to be more effective. So that's what can weight training can teach you.
Also, did you notice if grip strength allies with better juggling, or is it not even the question?
I don't recommend it because recently my doctor said to me, because I do a lot of grip strength for kettlebell sports, because I'm also competing in that discipline. And it needs grip, so I train that as a whole muscle. And the fact is, I got a little bit injured right here, which is on my forearms, because juggling is about repeating a movement,
Yeah.
and kettlebell is also repeating a movement using kind of the same muscle, especially on your arms. So it was a little bit too much
Okay.
to imagine that I was like using my grip strength somehow 5 hours a day
Oh.
with number juggling and kettlebell and
Yeah. Yeah.
reinforcing the
Yeah.
grip. So too much. So I don't recommend it because you don't need that so much. Maybe for holding 5 clubs in your 4 and 5 clubs in your hands, maybe it can be good. But if you're squeezing a dumbbell, that's enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So if
Somehow,
you do a
don't
basic weight
over.
weight training, you're already
It's
engaged
enough.
with your grip strength. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Don't over do stuff that apparently will give you more in general. And for juggling, it's more than enough.
Also, your hand gets used to it. Like I remember, I started juggling with the 67 millimeter balls, pretty small, and I could hold 3 balls normally. But then when I tried some friends 70 millimeters, I couldn't even have the third one right, like or even less with the fourth one on top, juggling 7, because the middle finger was always lacking because I couldn't grip it enough there. And I was wondering if it was grip strength or just the hand size, but I think it's a little bit of both. But I didn't grow up that much when I first tried those 70 millimeters. It was maybe like 2 years ago. But now they're the basic size of most of the balls I juggled for 7, for example. And I think your body just knows how to adapt to your kind of movement. Like I usually focus on balls, but I want to be better at clubs. So I've been pretty intensely working on my clubs and focusing on some spin rotations and everything. And I've been trying some 6 clubs and 5 clubs for endurance, and holding 6 clubs, 3 in each hand, it's tiring my grip. I noticed that at some point it just gets hard to grip it for. Let's say I want to practice 6 club for the next 15-20 minutes. I'm gonna have a hard
Mm-hmm.
time holding them at the end.
Mm. I think the prop which gave me the most trouble with it is mouse stick. Because if you just go for even half an hour of mouse stick for the first day, you're gonna have so much pain. So much pain. Not especially in your teeth, but in your upper back. Actually, the first week I have practiced mouse stick, I didn't sleep at all
Wow.
because my back was was tight, and I didn't understand why. Really, because I wasn't training weight that much, and it's because just the jaw is a strong muscle, but it needs to be trained little by little. It's the same with grip. If you train your grip too much and you don't recover from it, then it's gonna hurt every day. At a certain point, your body will adapt and you will have pain anymore. But it's the same with what I've said before. It's like small implements of a few minutes every day. If this is the grip, then train 5 minutes your right arm, 5 minutes your left, and leave it that from today. Trust the process and go back 2 or 3 days after that for the same exercise. The thing with juggling is like, because the props are generally light, you think your body will recover.
Yeah.
Of course, it will recover more. You will recover faster from juggling than from a heavy squat day, for
Yeah.
example. For sure. But your brain needs to adapt also of the skill you imposes him to do.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind that grip is one thing. You need to recover from your grip, and you need to let your body and your brain think about how to adapt to that. So just trust the process, do a little bit of that. Don't overdo it, because like I said with mouse stick, it was ruthless. It was ruthless. So when I take a break and I did to practice mouse stick for a show, for example, I do 5 minutes for 2, 3 days, then seven, then 10, and after I can get my 20 minutes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It took me 2 weeks to be able to train normally with the mouse stick for this.
Wow.
And I feel that more than with the clubs or with the balls, because the jaw is so strong, but it needs to be trained every day for this. So yeah, just small implement.
Yeah. I notice a scheme with all the tips you're giving. It's practicing and know what to do every day and how to small how to shortly add something new to your practice, or progressive overload, just like muscle training. You add a little bit every time, either in quantity. Maybe you want to try a new 5 ball side swap, so that could like translate to a bigger weight if you do weightlifting, because your body's not used to that charge of movement,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's in repetition or endurance. So in the very concrete technical side, let's say right now I know how to do a 7 ball 5 up, and in 1 year I
Mm-hmm.
want to do a 7 up. What would you recommend for a juggler to plan in the week, and how many hours to have a pretty solid chance at getting it?
First, identify by video, for example, if there is any weakness to your 5 up. Is the high of the ball comfortable? Comfortable enough to be to say to yourself, I can have two more balls in the air. You know what I mean? Because in an ideal world, your 5 up and your 7 up are at the same high.
Yeah.
Because if you're swapping it, it's 9 9 9 9 9 9 9, and 5 up or 7 up, there is always throw at 9.
Yeah.
So be aware of that. The second is like, how is your 360? Do you feel comfortable with your speed, with how your ankle is doing, everything like this? And the other is like, how your throws precise, or you're just good at catching.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there is a debate like this. Are you a good thrower or a good catcher? You better be good at both. But is your throw good enough to generate an entire closing of 7 ball in the air, turning with a blink of shadow of your pattern, and be able to come back and say, this is where they are, where I wanted them to be. You know what I mean? So the precision.
Yeah.
So in any case, you can add a little bit specific work. If your throws are not good enough, implement swap with a 9 inside, for example. 966, 915 with your 5 balls, something like this. If there is something that needs to be done with your 360, then get down. Do a 3-up 360 with 5 balls. Really important. Make sure that your 3-up is the same high as your 5-up. The same rhythm, comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't hesitate to get down and see if you have a problem during a 7-up after a 5-up. If your 5-up is really clear, precise, and perfect, then normally a 7-up will take you a month.
Mm.
If that's not the case, identify where the problem is. And I think as a juggler, if you're reaching a 5-up 360 with 7 balls, then you can easily identify through video what's happening.
So an exercise you could have is doing, if you're able to, you can land a 3-up and a 5-up in the same 5-ball run and see, compare, do a screenshot or something and compare to in the same run, in the same setting and everything, is your 5-ball up and your 3-ball up the same? You know, I should try that because I know 360s are sometimes wanky, and I think I'm more of a good catcher than a good thrower. I tend to like do reflex catches and everything, and no, that's good. And something I struggle with is mostly the distance between the balls. Like, do I want to do like na 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 ta 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 one shot and go, or do I want to throw higher but then have more space between the balls? So when I'm done with 360, nothing's like colliding on me. So I have like one ball at a time that I can like now focus on. That's a kind of tricky things about numbers 360s. Like 3 balls, like okay, if you catch the two first, the other one is just like a reflex throw. Like when you first start, you throw everything and you're like, okay, now I'm okay. Now I can like go back to my feet. But like, if you're doing 3 balls with a 3-up with 5 balls, now it's different, right? Because you have 3 balls, but then you have another one in your hand that you need to take care of. So you need to focus on, is your 3 okay? Do you have space now to throw something before you have the first one? It's not just like reflex and then you have one other. That could work for when you start, but then as much as you go, like you win 3 clubs. Are your spins okay, or do you just like reflex catch them? Like I could do a 360 and catch it by the bulb, by the wrong side, and not by the handle.
Actually, Jason is pretty good at this because we spend so much time. I take classes with Jason for the last 6 months, and it actually exploded my brain how he explains how to do a correct 360, especially with new guy when you don't do the 5-up with 5 balls, for example. It's like be sure that your throw are perfect and that you are throwing at the same height at that you will throw at the 5 during the 5-up. And make sure to catch properly the last ball before you turn, because it's only a 3-up, so there is not that much ball in the air. But making sure you're doing everything at the right time, not anticipate, and just you got the list of things to do. Don't just do it in the right order, and everything will be good. If there is a problem somehow, that it's not related to the order, like for example the precision of the throw, then you do an exercise for that specific thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a problem with my basic pattern about where it was, and that affected all my tricks. So we just work on that, and everything kind of get unlocked one after the other.
Do you think?
But just
Do you think side swap 360s help for that? Knowing what kind of different heights would work. Like let's say like the transition between normal 5 ball cascade, and then you do one and then one lower and then one up, and then you can do a 360, and now you have a
Yeah.
6x4 already.
Never. Yeah. I know what you mean. It forces you to do your list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you have to know that there is different heights. A 5 up 360, that there is like, it's just 5 throw at 7, 0 0, just turning. All the throws are the same, so it's kind of easy to apply.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The list of things to do is a bit tiny. But if you're doing like 360 with the side swaps, then the list getting bigger
Yeah.
because you get different heights, different throws. So it forces you to respect what you need, what needs to be done with your body and the throws you are going to do. But somehow implementing this will provoke your body to adapt.
Yeah, because it's harder. Just like we say with the progressive overload, that's like something new. That's a new muscle connection, a mind muscle connection.
Sure.
The first time you try to do a transition between a regular cascade to like a sync pattern, your brain is super confused. Like if you never
Yeah.
done that before, if you don't really practice sync patterns and do like transitions to normal patterns, you're gonna have a hard time. Normal patterns to async patterns, you're gonna have a hard time doing transition between both. Your hands are used to do like two at a time, and then out of nowhere you have
Yeah.
like two. You have one at a time, and then are you that precise? Are you keeping the precision, or your hands are still like doing a sync throw even though you're doing cascade now? Are you having a hard time doing the perfect distance between the throws, or do you like rush them and try to recycle? Not recycle, like récupérer. You're trying to catch
Yeah,
up
yeah.
your pattern back.
Understood. I think before I would have said, like, do whatever you can to make it happen. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Just shorten the flash. Or now I try to keep the same rhythm. If it's need to be higher, then I'm going to throw higher. But to be comfortable, to because I understood now, uh, right now, and I understand how a transition can be fun to practice, and how it can change the pattern you are using. I discovered that with the what Jason called the Sayer specials, which is of 6x4 transition to back crosses in double
Ooh.
with clubs, which is like completely two different patterns. But the two tricks are awesome, and the transition itself it's really nice. Because the move is really changing. Of the three-dimensional stuff is different. The perception of where you are change. It's great. But for that, um there is a large list of things you need to think by doing that transition, and taking step by step. You need to There is no shame of getting down to understand stuff.
Yeah.
I do a lot more four clubs practice, for example, than I used to do, because I needed to understand some stuff. I never before last year, I never have trained long format 7-5-3-1 with clubs. Could seem strange because it's like basics,
Yeah.
but I never tried to make it like a 20 round, for example, and not moving my feet. It brought me so much during that specific practice, just 5 minutes during a day, and see how it affects my 5, 6, and 7 clubs. Couldn't wish for best, really. So, for example, and it's only a 4 club trick, which is referred as a basic. So take time on the basic, the stuff where it's easy to correct, where you can implement change without moving everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
It's
also,
it's really valuable.
especially for like pirouettes, maybe do the throws without even. If you don't think you can spin fast enough to do like a 5 up, your first 5 up,
Hmm.
maybe just try to do a flash and do like claps under or something. Just know that your hands have the distance, have the height down and they have the
Yeah, sure.
distance between the
The
throws down.
Ukrainian does it like this. I think you had Sasha Koblikov on the previous podcast. When I was working with Yuri, there was a lot of flash, clap, clap, clap,
Yeah.
flash, clap, clap, clap. Well, I'm currently working on the two-stage 720 with 5 props, a lot with Jason, and there is a lot of throwing all the props, doing the first 360, and then waiting and see what's happening with the last three.
Mm.
And don't turn the because it's just energy that you're taking. If you just want to land it, just had 2 minutes of trying the tricks in a complete way
Yeah.
at the end. But when you are at training, you are at training. You're not competing. You're not on stage. You are at training. You are here to implement things that will make your tricks easier the next time.
Yeah.
If you're saying I want to make a video of Instagram of me doing 20 throws of back crosses, I give myself 1 week. Don't film it before. Just do that every day, and on the day you're gonna film, you're here to do that thing. And normally, if you do what needs to be done, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your goal.
Do you have anything another small tangent you want to go to? You want to go over another subject before we close up the episode?
We talked a lot about sports in general, applied to juggling.
Yeah.
Um, I think if I had something more to say, it's like be curious about the history of the discipline, because you're gonna find out great juggler, you're gonna find out great articles, buy some of Caroline Zitten books, because there is a lot of jugglers and performance which are described that you're not gonna find on video. Um, Watch Gerasimov, Alexander Kiss, Ignatov, those guys, men and women who have brought juggling to where it is now. Why is Vova Galchenko so important? Because if Vova Galchenko wouldn't happen, there would have been no Spencer and Rory. There would have been no Kaito, no Masahiro Takahashi. It's a little bit, it's a time that you're not gonna lost for. Just be aware of the history of your practice. You're gonna find out great juggler, you're gonna find out great props, great ideas, and it's gonna be in your head for a while. And it's not something that circus school teach. It's not something that people are aware, because you're aware of what's happening now on the social media and stuff. But check the history of your discipline. It's really important in so many ways. So many ways. I recently bought a book from Niels Dunker, because he's doing a great job reading in English all the books which are not in English, and he read it the Moscow uh, juggling book uh, during the Cold War, and they actually learn you how to juggle not in a parallel foot, but in the third position in classical dance. Sounds weird,
Yeah.
but it's a point of curiosity. When you see it, you say, wow, that basically was a brain explode for me. Even if it's not something I'm going to apply, but knowing that a good juggler, Fomenko, Ignatov, learned that way at first, then it's gonna click in your head. Why did they choose this? Why did they choose that? Because it's all about the choice,
Because
and the choice is made of information you have to in your brain.
taking what was made before helps you knowing what you couldn't make next. There's some
Yeah,
stuff
sure.
you don't know that existed. You don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what you're missing out on. So maybe you have the best act you've ever conceived in your head, even though we don't have it in video. If you have an article talking about something you never thought, but maybe it would be the career changing moment for you. Maybe that's what your juggling is going to look like for the next 10 years because it's so inspiring to you. You don't know until you get informed and you see either videos or read articles or books. And yeah, that's a very
It's the same
important
with the
subject.
body. It's the same with your body. It's like if the more you get information about how your body is going, how your body what your body can do, the less injury you're gonna have, the best practice you're gonna get. It's the same. Be as curious as you can be. If this is on my YouTube channel, that on my Instagram channel, sorry, then it's good. But there is plenty of other information outside juggling that can help you with your juggling with the same amount of information. You just have to be curious about what my goals are and who can help me for this, and just be aware of there is stuff that's gonna be in your way. For example, juggling a storybook that's gonna change your approach and maybe unlock some stuff. So be curious about it, even if it's not in your specific area.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think that's one of the most underrated cues for jugglers. I think jugglers they're always in the same echo chamber. They receive the same kind of information. They see the same kind of influence in juggling. They see the same kind of tricks, but then they don't know until they learn about what was out there or something else that you may not be a part of. Maybe you, even nowadays, maybe you don't have a maybe you have a very certain close kind of juggling style that you only follow people that do that on Instagram, let's say.
Mhm.
But maybe if you look out, maybe even other nations, like you see all the Spanish jugglers and the in South America and everything, you're gonna see the craziest club juggling you've ever seen. But maybe if you just follow like the top technique, you see like the you don't see that many body throws or traps and rolls and everything that you could have missed out on if you didn't look at the other kind of inspirations from everywhere. So I think you should maybe get a bit of everything to build your own.
For you get a good example. South American club juggling with all the rolling, the traps, and etc. Where that can come, when that can come from. Okay, there is Westpeden. Where does Westpeden come from?
Yeah.
From the encounter of Jay Gilligan, Maxime Komarov, Villevalo, the Peapod video. And we can go further like this, like what are the ancestors, where that come from, okay? But if you see now some Peapod's video, you're gonna see the original stuff. Like you're hearing, like it's like hearing something from your childhood, and then you discover the band who influences them. Like you're listening, you're listening to, I don't know, some hard rock stuff right now, and then you discover the Who.
Yeah.
Your brain will explode somehow. You know what I mean? So it's just the context is different. Everything come with their own culture and they develop it. So be curious about what happened before. There's plenty of video of juggling on YouTube for this. There's no problem with it. But there is a lot said about Rastelli, for example, written than on video because of the time. If
Yeah.
you want to learn why Rastelli is so important, you have to read it. The video are not that exhaustive.
Yeah. That's very good. I think we could close up on that, right?
Yeah.
Uh, before we go, what can we expect from you in the future? What do you have going on?
Um, I think I'm gonna continue with what I'm doing on Instagram, like concrete help for juggler who want to improve. I think I'm gonna work on a new act, and I'm gonna have some more research on the prop itself with my company. Um, that's it for now because being a dad is a lot of energy,
I mean, that's some
and
good
training
projects.
juggling is such a pleasure right now. Just to improve on that and see the progress is enough for me for now.
also it's so fun. Even your regular tricks that you used to post without speaking or anything, even your progress tricks was super entertaining. But now we connect to you. We know your real passions, and even doing podcasts like these, people get to know the human side behind. And now your Instagram is like you're tying the community together. You're asking a bunch of questions to everyone, and you're like giving tips that people may not seen, like the body, all the injury prevention, the kind of exercise to warm up, the so good. Like keep doing the content you do. That's very precious for the juggling community. And can you put your finger down like this? You have your Instagram handle at Jean-Baptiste Diot. You can see all that cool content. Keep being curious. See that kind of content. I think Jean-Baptiste at the moment is like the only juggler speaking about the physicality of juggling and not to get injured and how to prevent everything. That's very important knowledge.
Trust the process. Set your goals and trust the process. Relax about it.
Yeah. Alright, that was so nice of you to be here. Pour les Français, vidéo dans la description, deuxième partie ou première partie, comment vous voyez. So we did an extra episode for people who happens to speak French. In the description, we have another part all in French with Jean-Baptiste. Pretty complimentary to this one. Thank you, Jean-Baptiste, to be here. Thank you for allowing me some of your time. Thank you. That was very fun. So everyone, thank you for listening. Have fun juggling. We'll see you.
Bye, guys.